The amount of hater comments and hater behavior is at an all-time high, but rather than focus all in on the haters, I'm going to do two things in this video. I'm going to address the drama and really just underpin the stupidity of these comments, and then we're going to go in and talk a little bit about history, the way that wars have actually been fought and won. That's not my opinion. This is based on like historical fact, and you're going to be like, wow, some of the quotes I'm going to share with you are so shockingly applicable to this situation. So stick around in this video for some drama, some history. I mean, what more could you want? Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and I'm going to give you a quick KVK update at the start of this video. As you can see here in my KVK with 1960 and 1093, some of the strongest, biggest kingdoms in the game, there are three camps called G4s. That's groups of 4 kingdoms. And also, my kingdom 2605 is here. This battle for Kingsland has been going on for what, like 5 or 6 days now, and 1960 is still here. And it's kind of crazy because if you want my perspective on this, I actually think 1960 might be positioned to win this KVK. I think in the coming days, they're going to train up more troops and they're going to come in with a vengeance. And the fact that they still live on this corner, well, hey, look, there's a couple things that could lead to the end of this KVK. One is that 93 is able to push them out of Kingsland. Another is that 960 pushes into Kingsland, but doesn't make it to the Zig before the final lock of the Zig. And another alternative is that 960 makes their way into Kingsland and holds the Zig at the end. Those are several likely outcomes. However, I do want to point out that for those of you wondering, what are the G4s up to? They have literally taken over 93's zones. They took over this part of Zone 5. They took over almost all of Zone 6. They are shockingly avoidant of picking up Huron buffs for themselves, but I'll cover that more in a second. They've been pushing up in the north. It has been insane. Now, on the topic of ignoring these Hurons, I think it's fair to say that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. These guys fought with 93. They probably have a feeling that 93 is winning this KVK. I actually think 1960 is positioned to win this KVK right now. So they're letting 1960 keep these buffs because they want 1960 to be doing work against 1093. I mean, to me, it feels pretty obvious. The only reason you wouldn't take these yourself is because you want 1960 to continue to use these buffs in their favor, unless there's some other relationship there, but I think that's pretty unlikely. That actually happened earlier in the KVK where we had a Huron up here and we weren't being attacked at the Huron, even though they could have attacked us while we were fighting 1960, presumably because like they want us to slug it out with 1960 and weaken them, which is almost certainly going to be correct in this KVK because 1960 is looking like they are the biggest, strongest entity in here. And that's kind of crazy because if you asked me at the start of Kingsland who was going to win, I didn't even think that they'd necessarily make it to 24 hours in Kingsland because they were so outnumbered in 1960. But I think 1960's bottomlessness is going to come into play, and there's 10 and a half days left in this KVK. Now, 1093 did pick up the Zig, and grabbing the Zig does give them big benefits. 3% damage dealt, minus 3% damage taken. This is huge. 5% march speed, 3% attack, 3% defense, 3% health. The Zig is freaking big. So being in this position affords them some benefits, but I don't think it actually ends up being enough to be like, wow, that's why they win the KVK. It's because they're holding the Zig now. Now, what does, by the way, winning the KVK even mean? I think it's holding the Zig at the end. I mean, this is a last kingdom standing free-for-all KVK. People deeply misunderstand free-for-all and the nature of free-for-all, which gets to the hater comments. We'll get there in a minute. Before I get to the hater comments, I want to show what we've been up to. We have been gaining a ton of ground in Zone 5. We now have this area encircled, and these forts are burning, which gives us the opportunity to maybe clean up this area. We've gone in and we've got these forts burning. It's a second layer of forts that we're working on. We have the Hurons in here. Also, we've been burning these forts and burning these forts and haven't really had the strength to then go in and push Also, if I think that 1960 is winning this KVK, then the dumbest thing I can do is drain 93 right now. It's just like, this should be strategically obvious to many people, but it is not. They think, why aren't you attacking like an idiot at every opportunity and run yourself down? And I will explain why that is deeply idiotic, and we'll get to the way wars have been fought all throughout history in a bit. And if you like the history lesson, smash a like on this video, consider subscribing to the channel, because this KVK's got 10 more days and every single one is going to be insanely action-packed. And I will stream more of it, but I was getting pretty frustrated with streaming on a 5-minute delay, I'm not going to lie. And for competitive integrity reasons, I really ought to stream on a delay, but from a standpoint of actually interacting with you all, my friends, my audience, like, it really sucks. It really sucks to be on a 5-minute delay. All right. Now, in addition, we built all the way down here to this circle, and we've built down to this circle, and we've been burning forts off of this circle. Now, this brings us to the drama, okay? These stupid comments. People are saying, because we're attacking 1960 and pushing in, we are a trash kingdom. That is the strangest thing I've ever heard. What kingdom, okay, would you expect to just sit in their starting zone all KVK? I'm telling you, it is the dumbest thing I have ever heard in my entire life. And it's only revealing of the level of understanding of the people that are making these comments, because obviously we're pushing back in. I mean, have you not watched us lose KVKs in the past? We always keep fighting. Like, almost every single time we'll keep after it, okay? So if you've been watching SW for any amount of time, you know that we like to fight. We are building a kingdom that is about fighting. And we have said repeatedly that if you lack mental toughness, don't come here. There will always be tons of haters, a disproportionate amount, more than any other kingdom, in an unfair way. And the thing that I find a little disappointing is streamers actually encouraging this toxicity toward me specifically, toward my kingdom. Like, gross. It's gross. You should probably stop. You know who you are. I don't need to tell you. But I'll keep going here. And I want to talk more about what's happening in this KVK, all right? And people think we should actually just play like idiots. People think we should do actually several things. First of all, they think we're stupid for taking 1960s land, and they think we're scummy for doing it. Bro, it's funny that they call us scummy, but the G4s are heroes. I mean, this is obviously like 1960 fans that are like, why are you attacking the kingdom I like? Okay? And they're like, yay, go G4s, attack 93. So like, obviously, the hypocrisy here is through the roof, right? So these comments are dumb in part for that reason. People say, oh, you're allied with 93. You're allied with this kingdom. You're allied with that kingdom. These are also deeply incompetent comments because we're not allied with anyone. And I told you at the start of this KVK that free-for-all was going to be full of this kind of really stupid accusations. I told you. I said it. I said, I literally called it always stupid, always, even though this is actually an insanely fun KVK for the kind of people who like to fight a lot. And this brings us to the topic of guerrilla warfare. And in order to really understand and explain guerrilla warfare well, I actually looked at a video from someone that is called, the video is called The Art of War Guerrilla Warfare by Wartographics. And I'll have a link in the description of this video because I found it shocking. Like, your jaw is going to drop when I quote some of the things that he said and we apply it to this situation. It's actually insane. So according to Wartographics video, you'd struggle to find a war in history that wasn't defined by its imbalance in power, with one force that was bigger or stronger or more modern or more well supplied than its enemy. So look at 1960. They are bigger, stronger, more modern, more well supplied than almost every kingdom on the map. The only kingdom that possibly in the game can even contest them is 1093 because they are actually bigger. Like, they're actually just bigger. Okay, they are not stronger on a player average power. Okay, they are not more modern and on average in terms of the commanders, armaments, equipment, etc. They are not more well supplied in terms of speed ups and resources. Okay, so you'd struggle to find a war in history that was defined by its imbalance in power. All right, and he goes on to say, in some conflicts, this imbalance is less a question of inches and more a question in its orders of magnitude, with the underdog outmanned, outgunned, and cornered, which I just thought was hilarious. Like, yeah, the G4s were cornered. They were in their starting zone. Yeah, we were pushed all the way back to our starting zone and our zone 5. Like, it is actually shocking, okay? It is actually shocking how much overlap there is here. And He goes on to say, time and time again, guerrilla warfare has been the response to that situation. So this, and he goes on, I mean, it's just shocking to me how much of this applies here. This pattern and principle of asymmetrical, often ruthless warfare, guerrilla tactics, and strategy have allowed minor forces to inflict relentless punishment against a larger enemy that they're facing down against. I mean, like, okay, the G4s using guerrilla tactics, waiting, instead of just going in and draining themselves to zero, instead of us being idiots like many haters said we should do and just draining to zero before we actually had an opportunity, we are now attacking at a time when it is strategic, and that is actually guerrilla warfare and the way that wars have been fought throughout history. And they inflict relentless punishment. Dude, literally 93 is losing their circles. Literally GT is going to lose their circles. They can't fight everywhere at a time. They're getting drained. This KVK is going exactly the way I said it would go. Exactly the way I said it would go. I said it would actually be strategic to sit in the starting zone until King's Land opened, and I still believe that is the 100% best way that anyone other than GT or 93 could have played this KVK. My personal belief. Now, I think there's immense value to the way that we played it and the way that we did things. And because, in my opinion, 1960 overestimates perhaps their capability, they evicted us from this zone instead of keeping us in the KVK such that we would be a balancing force in Kingsland. Now, if 1960 wins anyways, then they were right and I was wrong. And I'll take the L if I'm wrong. No problem. If I'm wrong, I will definitely go admit it. For example, I thought that 1960 shouldn't fight us at all in this zone. I was wrong. It was smart they moved in. They should absolutely have claimed the Huron. And then I didn't realize that the garrison meta we invented would be so insane that like they would actually just get stalemated here. It would be so not worth it to rally us and take the position because the drain would be too much that they're like, we just have to wait. So I missed on that. So when I miss on things, I'll call it out. All right. I'll call it out 100%. All right. But let's keep going. Okay. About guerrilla warfare. All right. Guerrilla warfare is a drawn out, painful, and almost always defensive approach. Guerrilla warfare provides a means for the weak to overcome the strong, bleeding them dry, and maybe, just maybe, forcing them to give in. So both the G4s and My Kingdom 2605 are bleeding 1093 and bleeding 1960 right now because we are destroying their supply lines. Okay. You've seen like all this land, boom, gone. Over here, literally, MX deleted all its land. After we cut their fort here and their line to the zone, they deleted all their flags. GT completely disconnected. No alliance production from all this. Okay. This is guerrilla warfare. This is the way wars have been fought throughout history. It is strategically the way. The overall purpose is to survive against all odds and resist. Okay, this is Warographics going on to say it relies on campaigns of harassment toward enemies, unpredictable engagements, and leveraging any advantages, whether they're big or small, that you may have. This can include knowledge of the landscape, support from local populations, let's go Calvin Barbs, or any specialized weapons or tools of warfare. Yes, Attila Gorgo. Big poggers, we invented it. Okay, really, Chadsky did. Okay, honestly, like next freaking level. All right. Now, Warographics goes on to describe guerrilla tactics as follows. By doing this for as long as possible, while avoiding pitched battle, the guerrilla force's main objective is simply to buy time. I swear to God, I can't make this up. It's like exactly what I said. You wait until Kingsland opens, and now we're just buying time. Every day that these guys are fighting in Kingsland, they are draining each other, and we are gaining time. We are on borrowed time, in my opinion, to get things done. It is insane. So Warographics goes on, the use and importance of that time and how it is used in a strategic sense depends on the conflict. Sometimes guerrilla warfare is used to slow down an invading enemy long enough for reinforcements to arrive, or an even larger army that can meet the enemy in orthodox battle. I swear to God. In other cases, the larger and more formidable forces can be worn down over time. Okay, so this is like exactly what's happening, right? Like, the G4s and us are doing guerrilla tactics while the two larger, I mean, these are the two biggest, baddest kingdoms in the game, right? But not by a little, but by like an astronomical amount. No kingdom comes close to these two, okay? So basically the guerrilla tactics conventionally are designed to wait until bigger forces engage in pitched battle. And like what's happening in Kingsland, it's pitched battle. It's ongoing, constant drain of both sides, speed ups and resources, alliance storehouses, and honest to God, mental and emotional energy, okay? That's what's happening. In fact, I mean, in this video, the dude goes on to say, the element of surprise is just as important as the firing of a gun, and creativity is often a more useful quality in a guerrilla commander than conventional tactical knowledge. Insane, okay? Guerrilla fighters are defined by their defensive and self-protective tactics, often traveling or living in small decentralized groups with no base of operations to attack. Now, technically, we all have bases of operations to attack. So in that regard, it's a little bit different than guerrilla warfare because we do have a starting zone that cannot be invaded. So we actually have a safe haven from which we can constantly move in. However, the biggest advantage is that they dictate when and where the battle takes place. The enemy army may be marching toward a city or base trying to make it to their destination to commence an attack, but guerrilla fighters keep the enemy army on the defensive, struggling to reach their target and protect their supply lines with no idea when or where they will next be attacked. This turns the attacking war of conquest into a truly brutal ideal, while the guerrilla forces give the attackers every reason to call it quits and go home. Dude, I mean, I'll have a link in the description. I'm not done yet, but you're going to want to watch this video. So it was so good. So all of that is super applicable here, right? Like both the G4s and us, every kingdom on the map other than these two is eating the supply lines of these two. They're both marching to Zig, okay? 93 actually got there first. 960 is trying to get there last, right? And to hold it. That's it. I mean, technically everybody wants to be their last, but whatever. All right. Now, on the topic of morality, where the haters are like, you're dishonorable for using guerrilla warfare, okay? It is crucial to understand, according to War Graphics, that the use of guerrilla tactics does not make either side inherently good or bad, okay? It is simply the way that you actually try to win. And this brings us to history, okay? This is a little bit more of the history lesson here. For those that are familiar with Hannibal Barca in the game, from VIP, all right, not exactly the greatest commander, and actually not exactly the greatest commander IRL necessarily either. Hannibal Barca was defeated by guerrilla warfare. Have I unlocked him on my restart account? By the way, this is my restart account. I'm trying to not leak markers. I haven't even unlocked him, okay? Hannibal Barca was defeated by guerrilla warfare at the time called Fabian strategy. And according to War Graphics, the Mongolian Empire used these tactics as well, okay? With archers on horseback. So your boy Genghis Khan over here, right? All right. And you may have seen the movie Braveheart, okay? How about the American Revolution? You've heard of that, right? This is a war fought between colonial insurgents and the soldiers of the British Empire. And the funniest thing here, okay, is War Graphics, in his words, okay, calls this the war fought between, as I was saying, colonial insurgents and the soldiers of the British Empire, which pitted them against the richest and most militarily formidable nation in the world at the time, up against an unequipped ragtag force made up of farmers and artisans. I swear to God, it is so funny because when you think about 1960 compared to the weakest kingdoms that are in this KVK, or even if you look and compare it to 2605, right? Like, it is so funny to hear that description. The richest and most militarily formidable nation up against an under-equipped ragtag force made up of farmers and artisans. That is so funny. I'm sorry, but I can't even help laughing out loud. Now, the way that the colonial force actually won that war is by using guerrilla tactics, okay? The conventional way that you fought war at the time was that you'd form a line and you just shoot at the enemy. And it was called the gentleman's way of waging war. So the haters who were like, why aren't you fighting like a gentleman, are actually just idiots. Because what the colonial force realized is that if they lined up with their less well-equipped, less experienced farmers and artisans, they were going to get freaking clapped. So instead, they actually fought from the forest, and the British couldn't even adapt to this tactic. And by the time they figured out what to do, it was way too late because other forces started getting involved, which is hilarious. Other forces, G4s, okay? Other forces than the two in here, 2605, that's my kingdom, okay? A part of the reason that the colonial forces were able to actually win is because of intervention from foreign nations. So like, I don't know who's going to win over here, and I'm not allied with either kingdom, but I know that it is certainly in my interest as a third party for that fight to go on as long as possible and for them to be draining the heck out of each other, all right? Now, according to Warographics, literally every conflict is defined by some imbalance in power, be it in terms of manpower, resources, technology, or the will to fight. And as long as these imbalances exist, the more one side is likely to resort to guerrilla tactics and strategy. He goes on to say, above all, it is the means for the weak to resist the strong, and as long as the weak choose to fight back, guerrilla strategy and tactics are going to survive right along with them. The haters can say whatever the hell they want, but literally, even the commanders in the game have used or been victim to guerrilla tactics. And to expect kingdoms to not use those tactics, especially in a free-for-all where you should be most interested in only your own kingdom's self-interest, bro, it is hilarious. So that's why the picture on the thumbnail is probably going to be something about the haters also burning alongside the city that we zeroed, because it's just like, dude, it's out of hand, all right? If you enjoyed the video, throw a like on here, consider subscribing. If you want to see Warographics video, I think I can put that card in the end screen, also links in the description, and it is extremely well done. Big shout out to them. I learned a lot actually watching that. And if you want to see one of my recent streams, I'll have a card in the end screen as well, or maybe the Kingsland opening was insane. Check that out. Until next time, my friends, you have fun smashing the kingdom.